The night sky lit up with strange colors as Linda Morgan drove home from her late shift at the hospital she worked at as a nurse. The small town of Pine Creek had never seen anything like it before. The lights danced across the horizon in blues and purples that no Earth sky should make. Linda pulled her car to the side of the empty road and stepped out, her eyes wide with wonder and a touch of fear. The country road gave her a clear view away from town lights. Whatever this was, it was happening. In the woods near her cabin, she should call someone she knew that, but her phone showed no signal. Bars just static on the screen. The hair on her arms stood up. Something told her this was important. Something told her not to run away. The lights grew, brighter, focusing in one spot about a mile into the forest near the lake. Linda made a choice that would change everything. She got back in her car and drove toward the lights, instead of away. Her small blue car bumped along the dirt road that led to the lake. She had been there many times before to hike and swim, but tonight the familiar path seemed strange and new. The trees cast odd shadows in the light from above, and the usual night sounds of animals had gone silent when the road ended. Linda grabbed her emergency flashlight from the glove box and continued on foot. Her heart beat fast in her chest, but her steps remained steady. She was not someone who scared easily. Working in emergency care had taught her to stay calm when things got strange. The lights grew brighter as she approached the lake. She could see now that they came from something large that floated above the water, something that should not exist. A ship of some kind, but not one made by human hands. Linda stopped at the edge of the trees, her mind racing to make sense of what she saw. The ship was smooth and curved like nothing she had ever seen before, about the size of a small house. It hovered 10 feet above the lake surface, silent except for a soft humming sound. As she watched, a section of the side seemed to melt away, forming an opening and a ramp that extended down to touch the shore of the lake. Linda knew she should run. She knew she should hide. But something kept her feet planted firmly on the ground. A figure appeared in the opening, tall and slender, moving with a grace that seemed impossible. The moonlight revealed a female form, but not a human one. Her skin glowed with a faint blue light. Her limbs were too long, her head shaped wrong, her eyes too large and set wide apart. The alien woman, for Linda could think of no other word to describe her, looked directly at where Linda stood, frozen at the edge of the trees. She raised one 7-fingered hand in what might have been a greeting. Linda stepped forward out of the shadows, her own hand raised in return. Her medical training took over, noticing details. The alien woman seemed to be injured. She limped as she came down the ramp, and one arm was held tight against her body. Linda spoke, though she had no idea if she would be understood. "Are you hurt? Can I help?" The alien woman stopped, her head tilting to one side in a curiously human gesture. She spoke, but the sounds made no sense to Linda's ears. A series of musical tones and clicks. The alien reached slowly to her neck and touched what Linda now saw was some kind of device. A moment later, when she spoke again, the sounds became words, though the voice had a strange flat quality to it. "Help, yes please. Our ship damaged, emergency landing. Daughter inside, hurt badly." Linda felt her nurse training kick in fully. Now someone was hurt she could help. That was something real she could understand in this impossible situation. "Take me to her," Linda said. The alien woman seemed to sag with relief. She gestured for Linda to follow her up the ramp. Linda hesitated only a moment before stepping onto the alien metal. It felt warm beneath her shoes, slightly springy, like walking on living tissue. Inside the ship, the light was soft and blue, coming from the walls themselves. The space was open and curved without sharp corners or edges. The alien led Linda to what appeared to be some kind of bed, where a smaller figure lay. A child. Linda realized the alien's daughter. She looked like a smaller version of the mother, but her blue glow was fading in patches, her breathing fast and shallow. These were universal signs of distress that Linda recognized immediately. "Or daughter Mira." The mother said, "Her name is Ela. We are Valerie, from a world far from here. We did not mean to come to your planet. Our ship was damaged, passing through your solar system. We need to make repairs." Linda barely heard the explanation, her focus entirely on the child. She could see now that the girl had a wound on her side, something that looked like a burn, but with edges that glittered like tiny crystals. "How long has she been like this?" Linda asked. already reaching for the medical bag she always kept with her. 3 of your days, Ayla replied, since the ship systems failed your atmosphere. It has elements that harm us. We need to repair our protection systems. Linda looked at the wound again. Thinking fast, she did not know alien biology, but shock and trauma looked similar across many Earth species. Perhaps the same would be true here. I can try to help, Linda said. I am a healer for my kind, but I don't know if what works for us will work for you. Ella touched her daughter's face gently. We are not so different, she said, the translator making her voice sound sad. Our bodies are made of the same basic elements as yours. The differences are in how they are arranged. Linda nodded and opened her medical bag. She had basic supplies, pain relievers, antibiotics, bandages, nothing that seemed adequate for an alien child. But Ayla was watching her with such hope in those large, strange eyes that Linda had to try. The child Mira made a soft sound like music as Linda gently examined the wound. The crystalline edges seemed to be spreading slowly across the blue skin. It's some kind of infection, Linda said, I think. But unlike anything I've seen. Ella nodded. What you call infection? Yes, our bodies fight differently, but the concept is the same. This is from exposure to your atmosphere, a reaction we cannot stop without our ship's medical system. Linda thought quickly, then took out a jar of honey from her bag. It's a natural antibiotic. She explained it works on many kinds of infections for us, and it's safe, even if swallowed. Ella watched as Linda carefully applied the honey to the edge of the wound. The crystals seemed to stop spreading almost immediately. Mira made another sound, this one higher pitched. It helps, Ayla said. Sounding surprised, the spread is slowing our bodies. Respond to simple carbon sugars they provide. Energy for healing. Linda smiled, relieved that something had worked. It's a start, she said, but she needs more help than I can give her here. Linda spent the night in the alien ship watching over Mira while Ayla worked to repair critical systems. The interior of the ship felt alive somehow, walls pulsing gently with light that brightened and dimmed like breathing. Linda's mind raced with questions, but she focused on the task at hand, keeping the alien child stable by. Morning, Mira's condition had improved. The crystalline edges of her wound had stopped spreading, but the child still seemed weak. Her blue glow still faded in places. Ayla explained that their bodies used light not just as appearance but as a vital sign. Your honey solution was more effective than I expected, Ayla said as she returned from working on another part of the ship. We owe you great thanks, Linda smiled wearily, rubbing her eyes after the long night. I just did what anyone would do. La made a sound that the translator did not convert, but seemed like a gentle disagreement. Not anyone. We observed your world before our emergency landing. We saw much fear, much violence between your kind. Linda sighed. I can't argue with that, but we're not all like that. There are many humans who would help you if they could. Many who would harm us as well. Ayla replied. We have seen your broadcasts, your weapons, your wars. We were headed to a different system entirely. When our ship was damaged, we did not intend to reveal ourselves to your kind as. They spoke. Mira stirred on the bed, her large eyes opening to look at Linda. The child spoke softly, the translator catching her words. You are the human who helps, she said, her voice sounding young and musical even through translation. Mother said a human helped stop the burning. Linda moved to the child's side. Yes, Linda am a healer for humans. I helped a little, but your mother did most of the work. Mira reached out one small hand with 6 delicate fingers. Linda hesitated only a moment before taking it gently. The alien child's skin felt warm and slightly textured, like fine velvet dawn. Our world touching hands is for family, Mira said. But Mother said humans touch hands in greeting. May I greet you properly? Of course, Linda said, feeling strangely moved by the gesture. Ayla watched them, her expression unreadable to Linda's human eyes, though the translator conveyed her next words with what sounded like emotion. My daughter trusts easily. Perhaps too easily for this dangerous universe, but her instincts about people are rarely wrong. She senses goodness in you. Linda of Earth. Linda felt her face grow warm with embarrassment. I'm just doing what I can as a nurse, as a human being. She glanced around the ship. I should probably check in at the hospital, tell them I'll be late, but my phone doesn't work here. Ayla nodded. There is interference from our ship's energy field. Unavoidable. Until main systems are repaired, you may return to your dwelling if needed. Myra is stable for now. Linda thought about it. The hospital was already short-staffed. They would be worried when she didn't show up. But something told her this was more important than her shift in the emergency room. She had stumbled into something historic, first contact with an alien civilization, and they needed her help. He'll stay a little longer, Linda decided. But I will need to go back soon. People will look for me if I disappear. Ila seemed to consider this. I understand your concern, she said after a moment. But I must ask for discretion. Our presence here must remain secret until we can leave if your authorities discover us. They might try to capture you. Linda finished. The thought government's military scientists, they'd all want to study you. She didn't say capture or worse. But the implication hung in the airs. Ila confirmed simply. Linda looked at Mira, still holding her hand. I won't tell anyone, she promised, at least. Not yet. I understand why you're afraid. Ila made a gesture with her free hand that the translator did not explain but seemed like gratitude. Fear is reasonable, she said. But we are also hopeful your kind has potential. We see it in individuals like you. They were interrupted by a sudden alarm sound. Ila moved quickly to a panel on the wall, touching it in a complex pattern. The lights in the ship dimmed, and a projection appeared in the air showing the forest around them. Someone approaches, Ila said, her voice tight with tension. Linda peered at the projection, recognizing the hiking trail that led around the lake. A woman was walking along it, her red hair bright in the morning sun. It was Amy Russo, Linda's friend and neighbors. She's my friend, Linda said quickly. I can go talk to her, lead her away from here. Ila hesitated, then nodded. Be careful, the ship's cloaking system is only partially functional. We appear as a natural rock formation from a distance, but close up. Linda squeezed Mira's hand gently before releasing it. He'll be back soon, she promised the child, then followed Ila to the entrance ramp outside. The morning air felt cool after the warm interior of the ship. Linda could see now how the vessel seemed to shimmer and blur, to look like a large boulder at the edge of the lake. But the illusion wasn't perfect. Strange angles and metallic glints showed through in places. She hurried toward the trail, calling out Amy's name. Her friend turned in surprise. Linda? What are you doing out here? Amy asked. I thought you had the night shift. He did, Linda said, thinking quickly, went overtime, then decided to watch the sunrise by the lake before heading home. Her heart pounded with the lie, but she kept her face calm. Amy looked past her toward the lake, frowning slightly. That's funny, she said. I thought there was just one big rock over there, but now it looks like. Her voice trailed off as she squinted. Linda moved to block her view. Just old rocks? She said quickly. Nothing interesting. Let's head back to the road. I could use a ride. My car won't start. Amy seemed about to argue, but Linda took her arm, steering her back toward the trail away from the lake. The whole time Linda could feel the weight of eyes watching them. Ila seeing how Linda would handle this test of trust as they walked. Linda made small talk, asking about Amy's family, her work, anything to keep her friend's attention away from the disguised ship. By the time they reached the road, Linda had almost relaxed. I parked just up here, Amy said, pointing to her red truck. Then she stopped, looking back the way they had come with wide eyes. Linda, did you see that? She asked, her voice hushed. What? Linda said too quickly, her heart jumping. That light over the lake, Amy continued. A blue flash like lightning, but straight up into the sky. Linda forced a laugh. Probably just reflection off the water, she said. Or your imagination. It's early, we're both tired. Amy didn't look convinced, but she shrugged, leading the way to her truck as they drove away. Linda looked back just once. The ship was still there, still disguised, but she knew it wouldn't fool people for long, especially if it kept having power surges that created visible light back at her cabin. Linda showered and changed clothes, feeling the weight of her promise to the aliens. She had to return to them, had to help them repair their ship and leave safely. But she also had responsibilities here. Her job, her life. She called the hospital, claiming a family emergency. They were understanding but frustrated. She never missed shifts. She was reliable, dependable. Now she was lying to everyone as she gathered supplies, medicine, food, water, things that might help Ila and Mira. Linda tried to make sense of the situation. She had made first contact with aliens and was now actively helping them hide from humanity. Was she betraying her own species, or was she representing the best of what humans could be? Her phone rang, breaking her concentration. It was the hospital again, Linda. We need you to come in immediately, it's urgent. The voice of her supervisor sounded strained. What happened? Linda asked, already knowing somehow that this was connected to the aliens. Military personnel just arrived. They're questioning everyone about unusual activity last night, lights in the sky. Amy Russo reported seeing something strange by the lake this morning. They're organizing search parties. Linda's hands shook as she ended the call with her supervisor. Military personnel searching the area. This was exactly what Hila had feared would happen. They would find the ship, find Hila and Mira. And who knew what would happen next? She had to warn them. Linda threw the supplies she had gathered into her car and drove back toward the lake, taking a longer route to avoid the main road where she might encounter military vehicles. Her mind raced with possible solutions, none of them simple. When she reached the dirt road leading to the lake, she saw fresh tire tracks. Multiple vehicles had been here recently. She parked behind a thick stand of trees and continued on foot, moving through the forest as quietly as possible. As she approached the lake clearing, Linda heard voices, male, authoritative. She crouched behind a fallen tree and peered through the branches. 4 men in military uniforms stood near the spot where the ship had been. But the ship itself was gone. Scans indicate something was definitely here. One of the men said, holding a device that beeped softly. Radiation readings are off the charts, whatever it was. It wasn't from around here. Get the perimeter secured. Another man ordered, possibly the leader. We need a 5-mile search radius. Now they couldn't have gone far. Linda held her breath. Where had Ella taken the ship? Had they managed to repair it enough to leave, or were they hiding somewhere else in the forest? She waited silent and still until the men moved away. Then she circled the lake, staying under cover of the trees. A soft sound caught her attention. A musical tone. She recognized Mira's voice. She turned toward a dense thicket of bushes that seemed ordinary, except for a faint blue glow visible only when she looked directly at it. Linda whispered softly, "Hila, Mira, is that you?" The bushes shimmered, then seemed to part, revealing a small opening into what should have been solid earth but wasn't. Hila stood just inside. "We relocated the ship," she explained, "using the last of our emergency power to burrow into the earth. The cloaking system masks the entrance." Linda slipped inside quickly, the bushes sealing behind her. She found herself in a sloping tunnel that led down to where the ship now rested in a hastily created underground chamber. "They are searching for you," Linda said. "The military. They have devices that detect radiation." Ella nodded. "We know, we monitored their approach. That is why we had to move. The ship remains damaged, but we managed this temporary solution." Ella led Linda deeper into the chamber where Mira lay on her bed, looking much improved, her blue glow stronger. "More even," Linda smiled at the child. "I'm glad you're feeling better." Mira reached for Linda's hand again, her small fingers wrapping around Linda's larger ones. "I am stronger," she said. "The honey medicine helped. Father would have liked you." "Father," Hila said softly, "was lost in the accident that damaged our ship. Sorry," Linda said, feeling the weight of Hila's grief even across the species divide. Then, "To Mira, I brought more supplies, things that might help." Ella examined the bag Linda had brought, accepting the food and water with gratitude. "Your assistance means everything to us," she said. "But I fear we have put you in danger by involving you." Linda shook her head. "I chose to help," she said firmly. "But we need a better plan. They won't stop searching, and eventually they'll find this place too. How long until you can repair the ship enough to leave?" Ella made a gesture that seemed to indicate uncertainty. 3 of your days, perhaps 4. If we are fortunate, the main propulsion system requires recalibration, and we lack a critical component. "What component?" Linda asked. "Maybe I can find it." Ella touched the wall of the ship, which responded by displaying a holographic image of something that looked like a crystal structure, but with complex internal patterns. "It's a quantum resonance crystal," she explained. "We use it to focus energy for the propulsion system. Ours was damaged beyond repair in the accident." Linda studied the image. "I don't think we have anything like that on Earth." "No," Hila agreed. "Your technology is not yet developed in this direction, but there is an alternative." She hesitated. "We could fashion a temporary replacement using certain minerals from your planet combined with biological material. Biological material. Linda repeated what Kindla seemed reluctant to continue, but finally spoke. Your DNA combined with the right minerals could create a matrix, similar enough to function for one. Emergency jump to reach our nearest outpost. Linda blinked. My DNA. You need my DNA to fix your ship, not just any human. Mira said suddenly. Your DNA specifically, it resonates correctly. We tested while you slept. Linda felt a chill run down her spine. They had taken her DNA while she slept, tested it without her knowledge or consent. Then another thought struck her. Was this why Ela had really accepted her help, not out of trust but necessity? Ella seemed to read her expression. I apologize for not telling you sooner. She said we needed to be certain it would work before giving you false hope. We would not take what is not freely given. Linda stepped back, needing space to think. What exactly would you need from me? A small sample of living tissue. Ela explained. Blood would be sufficient. The process requires only a few cells. The resonance pattern, not the material itself. Outside, they heard the sounds of vehicles approaching. More military personnel arriving to search the area. We are running out of time, Ela said. But the choice must be yours, Linda of Earth. We will not force this. Linda looked at Mira, still holding her hand, then back to Ela. If I help you, what happens next? You leave Earth forever. We must. Ela confirmed. Our presence here threatens both our peoples. We are not prepared for official contact, nor are you. But the holographic display shifted, showing a small device shaped like a disc. We would leave you this, a communicator linked to our outpost, should you ever have need to contact us. Linda thought of the military searching outside. They would find the ship eventually, and Ela and Mira would become specimens for study. Their ship dismantled for its technology. That future seemed wrong, deeply wrong. But she also thought about the implications of helping aliens evade human authorities. Was that treason? Was she betraying her own kind? Mira squeezed her hand gently on our world. She said, there is a story of a traveler lost in a dangerous land who was saved by a stranger. Of that land, though, helping the traveler brought risk to the stranger. The story teaches that kindness across boundaries is the highest virtue. Linda made her decision. Take what you need, she said, holding out her free arm. I want to help you get home, Alice. Eyes seemed to glow brighter. We will never forget this. Ela said, the translator, making her voice sound thick with emotion. This day will be remembered in our history. Ella brought a small device, pressing it gently to Linda's arm. There was a brief sting, and a sample of blood was drawn into a crystal container. Mira released Linda's hand with what seemed like reluctance. What happens now? Linda asked. Ela moved to another part of the ship, connecting the crystal container to a complex apparatus. Now we create the replacement crystal, she explained. It will take several hours, during which the ship's power must be diverted to this process. We will be vulnerable until it is complete. Linda nodded. I'll stay, she decided. I'll help keep watch. Outside, the sounds of the search grew closer. Voices calling back and forth, the beeping of detection devices. Ela touched the ship's wall, bringing up an external view. The military had established a perimeter around the lake, and were working inward in a systematic search pattern. They will find us soon, Ela said, her voice calm but resigned. Linda thought quickly. No, they won't, she said firmly. Not if I distract them. Ela tilted her head questioningly. What do you mean? He'll go out there, Linda explained. Create a distraction, lead them away from this area, give you time to complete the crystal. The risk to you would be significant, Ela warned. They will question why you are here. What you know will handle it, Linda said with more confidence than she felt. I know these woods better than they do. I can lead them on a chase, then double back. Ela seemed to consider this, then touched Linda's arm in what must have been a gesture of respect. You show great courage, Linda of Earth. We will work as quickly as possible. Linda prepared to leave, gathering her thoughts, creating a plan in her mind as she did. Mira called to her. Linda, the child said, when you return, I will show you the stars as we see them. A gift of knowledge to remember us. Linda smiled. I'll look forward to that, she promised, then slipped out through the hidden entrance back into the forest. The forest was crawling with military personnel. Linda could see their flashlights sweeping through the trees, hear their radios crackling with updates. She moved carefully, staying low. using every bit of knowledge she had gained from years of hiking. Her plan was simple but risky. She would let herself be spotted but not caught, lead them away from the hidden ship, then disappear back to help Hila and Mira. She took a deep breath, then deliberately stepped on a branch, causing it to snap, loudly. "Hey, I heard something over here." A male voice called. A flashlight beam swung in her direction. Linda waited just long enough to be seen, then ran deeper into the forest away from the hidden ship stop. A voice commanded, "Identify yourself." Linda ran faster, pushing through underbrush, jumping over fallen logs behind her. She could hear multiple people giving chase, their heavy boots crashing through the forest. She was lighter, faster, and knew the terrain, but they had numbers and equipment. Led them on a twisting path, moving gradually away from the lake toward the rocky hills beyond. Eventually, she stopped, hiding behind a large boulder, breathing hard. Listening, the pursuers were spread out now, calling to each other, trying to coordinate their efforts. Linda slipped away in a new direction, doubling back toward a stream that ran through the forest. She waded into the cold water, walking along its course to hide her tracks. It was an old trick, but effective. The sound of the water would mask her movements, and the lack of footprints would confuse them. After 20 minutes of careful progress, she emerged from the stream, far from her pursuers. She could still hear them in the distance, their voices raised in frustration. She smiled. Grimly, phase 1 of her plan had worked now for the dangerous part. Returning to the ship, Linda moved carefully back toward the lake, taking a circuitous route, staying alert for any sign of the military. She was nearly there when a voice behind her made her freeze. Nurse Morgan. "What are you doing out here?" Linda turned slowly to face Major Graham, the head of security at the hospital, a man she had treated once for a broken arm. She hadn't known he was military until now. "Hiking," she said, trying to sound casual. "I heard there was some excitement in the area, came to see what was happening." The major studied her, his expression skeptical. "That's not what your friend Amy Russo said. She told us you were acting strangely this morning, that you seemed nervous about something near the lake." Linda forced a laugh. "Amy has an active imagination. You know how she is always turning nothing into something," maybe the major said. "But I'm going to need you to come with me." His hand rested on the holster at his hip, making the request a clear order. Linda felt panic rise in her chest if they took her in for questioning. Hila and Mira would have no warning. The military would find them before they could complete the crystal and escape him. "Sorry, but I really need to get home," she said, backing away slowly. "I've been out all day and I'm tired." Major Graham stepped forward. "Nurse Morgan, this isn't a request, it's a matter of national security." Linda made a split-second decision, feigning a stumble. She turned and ran, plunging back into the dense forest behind her. The major shouted into his radio. She could hear him giving chase, but she had the advantage of surprise. She ran hard, no longer trying to be quiet, just focusing on speed and distance. She had to reach Hila and Mira before the soldiers did. The forest blurred around her branches, scratching her face and arms, lungs burning with exertion. Linda burst into a small clearing and stopped short. Soldiers stood in a semicircle around the thicket that concealed the entrance to the ship, their detection devices beeping rapidly. One of them was adjusting what looked like a large scanner, pointing it directly at the hidden entrance. "They've found it," Linda realized with horror. One of the soldiers spotted her. "Hey!" he called out. Raising his weapon, Linda did the only thing she could think of. She screamed as loud as possible, "Hila, they found you, run." The soldiers turned toward her, confused by her outburst, which gave her just enough time to sprint across the clearing toward the thicket. She dove through the holographic bushes, tumbling down into the tunnel below the earth, as shouts and confusion erupted behind her. Ella met her at the bottom of the tunnel, the alien's expression impossible to read, but her voice urgent when translated. "We heard the commotion. The crystal is nearly complete but needs 10 more minutes." Linda gasped for breath. "They'll be down here any second. You don't have 10 minutes. Hila touched the wall of the tunnel, which sealed itself. "With a solid barrier, it won't hold them long," she said. "But it might buy us the time we need." Inside the ship, Mira sat beside the apparatus that was forming the crystal, her small hands moving in complex patterns above it, guiding its formation somehow. She looked up as Linda entered. "Mother, it responds to the human DNA. The resonance is strong." "How much longer?" Linda asked. hearing the sounds of the soldiers trying to break through the barrier. Above, Mira tilted her head in concentration. 7 minutes. No less, she said. The final bonding cannot be rushed or the structure will fail. Linda looked around desperately for something, anything that might help them buy more time. Her eyes fell on her medical bag. She hadn't planned for this exact scenario, but being a nurse in a small rural hospital had taught her to improvise. Ella, she said quickly, do you have something that can amplify sound? Make it louder. Ella touched another panel on the wall of the ship. A small device emerged. Yes, this can project and amplify sonic vibrations. Perfect, Linda said, grabbing it and her medical bag. I have an idea. She quickly explained her plan to Ela while removing several vials from her bag, mixing their contents carefully, creating a compound that would react dramatically but not dangerously. Ella seemed to understand, immediately adjusting the sound projector as Linda prepared the mixture. We call this a distraction technique, Linda said. When we need to move emergency patients quickly and safely, sometimes a controlled chaos is useful. Above them, the barrier began to crack. The soldiers were breaking through. Linda finished mixing the compounds, handed the container to Ela. Stay with Mira. Finish the crystal. I'll handle this. She climbed back up toward the failing barrier, positioning herself just below it as Ela returned to help Mira with the crystal. Linda counted down in her head, timing it precisely as the barrier finally gave way and flashlight beams shone down into the tunnel. She threw a small rock back deeper into the tunnel. The soldiers heard the sound, turning their lights and attention away from Linda for just a second, which was all she needed to toss the mixed compounds into the tunnel behind them. The reaction was immediate and impressive. A massive plume of colored smoke billowed up, accompanied by a series of loud popping sounds like small firecrackers. The sound projector Ela had provided amplified the noise, making it seem like explosions. The soldiers fell back, shouting warnings to each other about possible explosives or traps. The smoke filled the tunnel, quickly obscuring vision and forcing everyone to retreat temporarily from the entrance. Linda used the confusion to slip back down to the ship. Allay the crystal, she called. Urgently complete. Ela answered. The ship's power is reactivating now. We must leave immediately. Linda looked around the ship, memorizing details she knew she would never see again. Then her eyes fell on Mira. The child held out her hand one last time. Linda took it, feeling the warm alien fingers wrap around hers. I promise to show you the stars, Mira said. Touching the wall beside her, a projection appeared above them. Not just of stars, but of entire systems, planets and nebulae labeled in the aliens' language. It is not the same as seeing them in person, but it is my gift to you. Linda felt tears in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. Ella approached, holding the small disc communicator she had promised. We must go now, she said. The ship systems are restored enough for one jump. We will send a signal to our people about what happened here, about you. Linda of Earth. Linda took the communicator, slipping it into her pocket, remembering Ela's words earlier. We will not forget this. This day will be remembered in our history. Ella touched Linda's shoulder in what seemed like a formal gesture on behalf of the Valeri people. I thank you, Linda, she said. Our debt to you can never be repaid, but know that you have friends among the stars now. The ship began to hum with power, the walls pulsing with increasingly bright blue light. You should go now, Ela said. The exit tunnel will seal behind you when we depart. Linda nodded goodbye. She said to both of them, then to Mira. Be well, little one, grow strong. Mira made a musical sound that the translator did not convert, but somehow Linda understood was a goodbye. Linda climbed back up the tunnel, which was now clear of smoke and soldiers. They had retreated to regroup and plan their next approach. She emerged from the thicket into the forest and ran stumbling away from the hidden ship. Behind her, a brilliant blue light erupted from the ground, illuminating the entire forest for one blinding moment. Linda turned just in time to see what looked like a ripple in the air, a distortion that bent light around it, and then nothing. The ship was gone. Linda sank to her knees, exhausted, as shouts and running footsteps approached. Soldiers surrounded her, weapons raised. Major Graham pushed through their ranks, his face dark with anger. Nurse Morgan, he said, his voice hard. You have a lot of explaining to do. Linda looked up at him, then at the sky, now dark with night stars beginning to appear. She touched the alien communicator hidden in her pocket and smiled. Was just watching the stars, Major. She said, they look different tonight, don't you think? 6 months passed since the night the Valeri ship disappeared. Linda Morgan sat in a small interrogation room for what felt like the 100th time, answering the same questions she had answered before. No, she didn't know what caused the strange lights. No. She hadn't seen any aliens. She had just been hiking in the wrong place at the wrong time. The government agents didn't believe her. Of course, they had evidence: radiation readings, unusual metal fragments found in the soil near the lake, witness accounts of Linda's strange behavior. But they had no proof of what had really happened, and Linda kept her story simple and consistent. Eventually, they had to let her go again. Though Linda knew they were watching, her phone was tapped, her internet monitored, her movements tracked. She had returned to work at the hospital, but nothing felt the same. The world had changed for her. Or perhaps she had changed for the world. At night, she would often sit outside her cabin looking up at the stars, wondering where Ella and Mira were now. If they had reached their outpost safely. If Mira had fully recovered from her injuries. She kept the alien communicator hidden in a secret place, never using it, but finding comfort in knowing it was there tonight. As she sat on her porch watching the stars, a car pulled up the gravel driveway, headlights illuminating the trees. Amy Russo stepped out with a concerned expression. "Thought I'd find you stargazing again," Amy said, joining Linda on the porch steps. "You know, people are talking, Linda. You spend more time looking at the sky than talking to actual humans these days." Linda smiled faintly. "Just thinking," she said. "It's peaceful." Me studied her friend. "I know something happened that day at the lake," she said quietly. "Something you can talk about, maybe aren't allowed to talk about. But I'm worried about you. You've been different since then." Linda considered her friend, wondered what Amy would think if she knew the truth. Would she understand? Would she have made the same choice to help Ela and Miraim? "Okay," Amy, Linda said finally. "Just got a new perspective on things." Amy nodded, accepting the non-answer as she had many times before. "The military guys finally packed up their equipment at the lake," she said, changing the subject. "Whatever they were looking for, I guess they gave up." Linda felt a small surge of relief, though she knew better than to think they had truly given up. More likely they had just moved their operations somewhere less visible. The two women sat in companionable silence for a while before Amy spoke again. "There's a new doctor starting at the hospital next week," she said. "Dr. Sam Bennett, transferred from some big research hospital in the city. Supposedly brilliant." Linda nodded absently, her attention caught by a particularly bright star that seemed to pulse with a blue light, similar to the glow of Valari skin. "Probably just a coincidence," she told herself. "You should come to the welcome dinner." Amy continued. "Everyone will be there. It'll be good for you to socialize a little." Linda was about to decline when something made her pause. A feeling she couldn't explain, a sense that this was important somehow. "All right," she said. "I'll come." The following week, Linda found herself at the welcome dinner for Dr. Bennett, held at the hospital director's home. She stood in a corner nursing a glass of wine, watching the other guests mingle, making small talk. The new doctor was tall, with dark hair and serious eyes. He moved through the crowd, shaking, hands making introductions with practiced ease. Linda observed him carefully, noting how he seemed to be studying everyone even as he smiled and chatted. There was something about him, something familiar in the way he tilted his head when listening. When he finally made his way to Linda, he extended his hand. "Dr. Linda Morgan," he said, "I've heard a lot about you. The nurses speak very highly of your skills." Linda shook his hand. "Nice to meet you, Dr. Bennett. Welcome to Pine Creek." As their hands touched, Linda felt something press against her palm. A small object. She closed her fingers around it, automatically keeping her expression neutral, even as her heart began to race. Dr. Bennett held the handshake a moment longer than necessary, his eyes meeting hers. With an intensity that seemed to convey a message. Later, when she was alone, Linda examined what he had passed to her. A tiny crystal shard that glowed with a faint blue light. When held at certain angles, she recognized it immediately. A fragment of Valari technology. The next day, Linda requested to be assigned to work with Dr. Bennett on his rotation. She needed to know who he was, what he knew about the Valari. They worked side by side, treating patients, making rounds, all the while Linda watching. For any sign, any clue. It came 3 days later, when they were alone in the lab late at night, running tests on a difficult case. Dr. Bennett looked up from the microscope and spoke in a low voice. "They asked me to find you, Linda Morgan," he said, his voice still casual as if discussing test results. "They are very interested in what happened here." 6 months ago, Linda felt her body tense. "Who is they?" Dr. Bennett smiled slightly. "Not your government if that's what you're worried about." He adjusted the microscope unnecessarily. "I work for a private research group dedicated to studying extraterrestrial contact." Linda kept her face neutral, her voice steady. "I don't know what you're talking about." Dr. Bennett looked up, meeting her eyes directly. "You helped them escape," he said simply. "We know that much. The Valeri ship would have been captured if not for your intervention." Linda's hand moved unconsciously to her pocket where she kept a small key to the cabinet where the communicator was hidden. "How do you know that name, Valeri? We have encountered their kind before," Dr. Bennett said. "Not here on Earth, but we have resources monitoring deep space communications. We detected their distress signal 6 months ago and their departure shortly after. We also detected a transmission sent toward their home system. A message about a human who helped them." Linda said nothing, waiting. Dr. Bennett continued. "I was sent to find that human, to understand why they helped, what they learned, what they left behind." He glanced at the crystal shard that Linda had placed on the lab table between them. "Like this, for instance." Linda studied him, trying to decide if he was a threat. "Your private research group? What do they want?" "Knowledge," Dr. Bennett replied. "Communication. Understanding. We're not government, not military. We believe first contact is too important to be controlled by any one nation or military organization. We want to prepare humanity for the reality that we are not alone." Linda thought of Ela and Mira, of the fear in their eyes when they spoke of being discovered, of how carefully they had hidden from human authorities. "And if I did know something about these Volari," Linda said carefully, "why should I trust you with that information?" Dr. Bennett smiled. Reaching into his pocket, he removed an object that made Linda's breath catch, a small disc identical to the communicator Ela had given her. Except this one was slightly different. The markings along its edge were of a different pattern. "Because I have one too," he said simply. "Given to me 3 years ago by another species in similar circumstances. We call ourselves the Starbridge Initiative. Humans who have made contact, who have helped, who keep the secret until humanity is ready." Linda stared at the communicator, then back at Dr. Bennett. She thought of all the lonely months of keeping her secret, of looking at the stars and wondering if anyone would believe her, if anyone would understand what she had experienced. "It wasn't just Ela and Mira," she said finally. "There was a child. The first alien child I've ever seen. She was hurt. I helped heal her. I gave them my DNA to repair their ship." Bennett nodded, listening as Linda finally told her story, all of it. The lights, the ship, the honey treatment, the crystal, the escape. When she finished, he placed his communicator next to hers on the table. "There are more of us than you think, Linda," he said. "All around the world, people who have had encounters, who have helped, who keep the secret. We find each other. Eventually, we share what we know, what we've learned." "And what have you learned?" Linda asked. "That we're not alone. That we're part of something much larger than we ever imagined," Dr. Bennett replied. "And that kindness might be the most universal quality in the universe. Your Valeri valued it enough to risk contact, enough to leave you a way to reach them." He gestured to her communicator. "Have you used it?" Linda shook her head. "No. I was afraid it might be traced. Afraid I might put them in danger." Again, Dr. Bennett nodded, understandable, but perhaps it's time. He picked up the crystal shard. "This is part of their technology, part of what you helped create with your DNA. The Starbridge Initiative has resources, laboratories where we study such things, not to weaponize but to understand, to learn, to prepare." Linda looked at the two communicators side by side on the table, symbols of contact with beings from beyond Earth, evidence that humanity had neighbors in the vast darkness of space. "What are you asking me?" she said finally. "To join us," Dr. Bennett said simply, "to share what you know, to help prepare humanity for the day when contact can't be hidden, when the truth must be faced. We're building a bridge, Linda. A bridge between stars, between species, between worlds." Linda thought of Mira, a small 6-fingered hand in hers, of the trust in those alien eyes of the stars, as the child had shown them to her, vast and beautiful and full of life. She reached for her communicator, feeling its weight in her. Palm Ela had said they would remember her, that her actions would be part of Valeri history. Now Dr. Bennett was offering her a chance to be part of human history as well, part of preparing her species for a future among the stars, Sim. And Linda said, holding the communicators toward the light where they both glowed with a soft blue radiance like distant stars.